heart of each nation is its life, past, present, and future. All the ideals, hopes, and disappointments of a period are reflected in art. The art, which is so various, contradictory, and at the same time united, it can provide information about a nation of another country in the best way. Shigeo Katsu, the rector of the Nazarbayev University, is confident of it. You know where the other world is, and the world you are looking for is the world of your soul. The other reality you look for can live only in your heart. Hermann Hesse is one of Shigeo Katsu's most favorite writers, whose books encouraged him to look at the world and himself in a different way. At that time, he was very young.
When I was young, for a long time, I liked Hermann Hesse, German. He spoke to me when I was young. He spoke to me, meaning I could very well relate to what he wrote.
Mr. Katsu writes often as well.
I'm a terrible writer. If I would be a good writer, I would probably have written more books, but I'm happy to write from time to time some articles. I'm not so sure whether anybody is interested in reading more of that.
Shigeo Katsu thinks that an ability to write books or compose music, paint or dance is not as important as an ability to understand art. The secret of art lies in ability to hear unspoken words and admire the invisible. It is the nature of Japanese philosophy, which can also be understood. There is a typical scale of feelings which replace each other when a foreigner gets to know Japan. And these feelings are admiration, indignation, and understanding.
Yeah, I think Japan, from the outside, apparently still looks like a very strange, difficult to understand country, no? One often hears words such as inscrutable, difficult to get to know, and so on. Of course, when you're Japanese, you never feel that way, no? I think Japan has been able to sort of look at Western culture and sort of mix it with Asian culture.
The wise retise of people, the centuries-old cultural tradition and painful spiritual conditions, shock connected with the recent tragedy are reflected in the modern history of Japan.
What can I say? This year Japan has gone through a very difficult time, as you know. On March 11, there was this terrible earthquake in Tohoku, meaning the northeastern part of Japan. And as you well know, a big tsunami that followed, and the tsunami also destroyed or caused, to a large extent, major destruction, but also the destruction of the nuclear power station in Fukushima, no? And then everybody knows what then happened. But so Japan has gone through a difficult time, but I want to take this opportunity to thank the people of Kazakhstan for having really supported in these difficult times my people back in Japan. Tokyo normally is a very bright city at night, lots of neon lights. It was a little bit dimmer than normal. But overall, I think outside of the earthquake zone and the areas close to Fukushima, life has very much gone back to normal. So I'm pleased to be able to report that things are much better. My family is still in Japan, so from here, I try to, over New Year's and after around Christmas time, try to visit my country a little.
Nevertheless, the work and people surrounding Mr. Katsu prevent him from feeling sad.
From morning to night, I pretty much am focused on university work. Outside of it, Well, I try to do some exercise. I try to read. I try to read up on current affairs as well as on my own areas so that I can keep up.
Before Shigeo Katsu was appointed the rector of the country's most prestigious university, he had visited Kazakhstan a few times and worked with the representatives of Kazakhstan's government when he was the vice president of the World Bank in Europe and Central Asia. Mr. Katsu paid a lot of attention to Central Asian countries. He also thought that this region was strategically important, as he is an Asian himself. These countries are spiritually close to him. Mr. Katsu feels personal responsibility for the development of the university during the difficult period of its formation. He channels enormous efforts into its development. The development strategy of Nazarbayev University involves a staged development of the university whose management structure corresponds to the best practice in the world.
Our university, Nazarbayev University, has been very privileged in the sense that the authorities, the government, but of course the parliament, they all agreed to pass a special Nazarbayev University law which enshrines, I think for the very first time here in Kazakhstan, in the Republic of Kazakhstan, academic freedom and institutional autonomy in a university. So one has to ask, why is this so important? And my response would be to say this academic freedom in particular, but also institutional autonomy, is very important for an institution to move forward to become a real world-class research university, because it is, very important that one.
Mr. Katsu began his professional career in 1979, participating in the Young Professionals program of the World Bank. Later, he worked as an economist in the West Africa Project Department of the World Bank, and then he worked in Benin. Mr. Katsu was the Chief Operating Director of Industry and Energy Office of Department of China, East Asian and Pacific regions, where he worked on reforms and enterprises in the financial sector. Later, Shigeo Katsu was appointed the head of the regional mission of a bank in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, where a program aimed at helping the bank with management, privatization, and reforms in the sphere of cacao production was carried out under his leadership.
Oh, it's a very, development, what I used to do in terms of development was trying to help countries develop. And as such, yes, I was very much also overseeing projects and investments in education, in health, social security, and so on, also infrastructure and so on. Financial.
Important tasks have been set for Nazarbayev University, the formation of which was initiated by the head of state. The tasks include helping the system of education and science of Kazakhstan to reach the international level. And in addition, the university will contribute to turning Astana into a scientific and educational center of Eurasia. The Nazarbayev University cooperates with universities which are among the 30 best universities of the world. Each school and the center of Nazarbayev University are established in cooperation with scientific centers of the world. The Nazarbayev University has entered into an agreement on cooperation in establishing a medical school with the research department of Harvard University. Foreign investment companies are also interested in cooperation with this educational institution. Agreements have already been signed, and they provide professional development for the professional and teaching staff of the Nazarbayev University, the universities of the UK, and financing of students' social programs and projects.
Well, we only started, so I think please bear with us, give us a little bit more time. I know that Kazakhstan is very impatient because, in 20 years Kazakhstan has come an amazing long way, so I fully understand that, there is a sense of, impatience there, and that's very good, because I think one has to be impatient in order to move, to be dynamic. But at the same time, research and universities do both basic research but also applied research. These take time.
A center of educational policy whose partners are the Pennsylvania University and Cambridge was opened in the university. The question about the establishment of social research center is being discussed. Thus, the research in both natural and humanitarian spheres will be conducted in the university.
We hope to discover things that are going to be later naturally useful for society. And that means these discoveries need to be translated into products so that people can use. So a big objective will be to try to link our research side, the teaching and research side, to industry later on. So we will, in our future phase of development, very much try to also set up sort of a science park, technology park, link up, with the private sector and industry, so that they can also do their research here, and we can jointly try to develop products. So that will help in the roadmap as well in terms of diversification. Then we also are helping by developing the human resources, the capital, as our students, who hopefully then will become the leaders. And before 2020 we are going to have already some of our alumni who hopefully will start to be very active in the economy. And the third part is that we also have already started.
It is planned that the educational programs corresponding with the best international practice, new standards of conducting scientific research and principles of autonomy and academic freedom tested in Nazarbayev University will later be implemented in all the universities of the country. Shigeo Katsu is going to channel great efforts into it. We can say that the phrase "everything has its place" is the Japanese motto, and a key which helps to understand their positive and negative aspects. This motto embodies first, a kind of theory of relativity applied to the moral, and second, asserts that subordination is an inviolable and absolute rule of family and social life. You've been watching the Persona Grata program. You can watch the program at any time convenient for you on our channel website, www.CaspioNet.kz. See you soon.